The burn intensified with the proximity to my prize, but fuck me, if I was doing this, I was doing it in style. My lips kissed her pulsing artery, and as my teeth cut through her flesh, Bella spoke for the first time tonight. Edward. Her soft, breathy sound was everything. I was overcome by the monster as I sucked the sweetest blood I have ever tasted into my mouth, and for the first time in 90 years, the monster purred in contentment. This was where I was meant to be, here, with this temptress, her blood flowing into me. Suddenly I froze. We watched Nosferatu and Twilight.
Purr.
What was that from?
Oh, I'm not going to look up the title of this shit fan fiction that I found online.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
That's some
Well,
Twilight fan fiction.
it's begun.
It's a little bit better than the writing of
Maybe
the
I
movies
wrote
that we
it?
watched. Ooh.
Maybe.
Ooh.
So, yeah. Welcome to our first spoopy Halloween. Spoopies. We got a candle on the table. We're barely
behind
lit
me?
because we're filming also now at night for the first time. So we're figuring that out, but like not that it matters.
Oh, I don't know.
We're just working out who's doing the synopsis, but I think it'll be a
Oh
surprise.
yeah, you'll just figure it
Yeah.
out. So yeah, welcome to Spoopy Halloween Citizen Kane versus, where we compare a widely considered great spooky movie to a spooky movie that is considered to be more on the schlocky side, and we ask ourselves honestly, which is better? My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my spooky friend.
Spoop Jacqueline.
Jeez, let's not lean into this too much. And our other friend,
Spooky Daniel Benoit.
Damn it. I was hoping I could come in on that one. This week, as Sean mentioned, we watched Nosferatu and Twilight. It was going to be Psycho and Psycho Gorman. I totally fucked up. Psycho Gorman doesn't exist as a thing you can watch yet.
Not yet.
It's tricky. I mean, it says it came out, but it didn't. It released in one way, but not all the ways. But we won't do that one later because we think it'll be fun. So we pivoted and we did Nosferatu and Twilight, which is a true, like, if we want to talk about like a classic movie versus something that is like a schlocky thing that's loved for like maybe like gross reasons in
the
cinema.
wrongest reasons you could love something.
And regions, for
the
sure.
Wrongest regions. Washington is a shithole of a region, and
we're talking about some like just shitty like teen fantasy movie
I wasn't that bad
versus
as a teen.
Twilight.
I don't
You weren't that bad as a teen?
like. I don't know.
I mean, you weren't a teen girl.
I wasn't. I was not a teen girl, but
Yeah.
not that you know. But
But then
That's true. I shouldn't assume. You're right.
But you should have seen all the teens in the 1920s. They all thought Nosferatu was a total heartthrob.
they were nymphos for Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's a mouthful.
yeah.
So is he, I've been told.
Spooky. So the connective tissue is, if it's not clear enough, just like vampires, just like people biting people.
Yep.
That's it.
That's strong enough, I think.
Oh, I think that's definitely clear enough.
It's more of a connection than the last two films we reviewed.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, by a long shot.
We also just watched these movies together right now, which is the first time we've done that. Sean and I have been drinking throughout. So
You can't watch Twilight without being inebriated in some shape or form.
Also
We're gonna get so
Nosferatu.
much hate mail for that from all the
Bring it
female
on.
viewers.
If they want to challenge me, I will meet them in the park at dawn with pistols.
Okay.
Okay, well there goes all of our viewers.
No, specifically Twilight fans.
Okay.
If they want, I can take Twilight fans.
We're alienating
Rocky
our
fans, not
audience.
so much.
Fair.
And again, usually we watch these ahead of time, and the two of you prepare a sort of quick synopses for these movies.
Yeah.
But let's just wing it quickly. Give like your like like you're at gunpoint and someone is like, quick, tell me about what this movie is, like
Okay.
version.
Which one do you want? You want to rock, paper, scissors for Nosferatu?
Yeah, let's do that during the podcast. Okay.
2 out of 3?
Best two. Let's just do
Best
one.
one out of-
Best one,
best one out of
for
one.
Nosferatu.
For Nosferatu,
Winner
yeah.
does Nosferatu.
Winner does
All right.
Nosferatu. Yes!
Shit.
No,
Dan
God.
won, so he's
Yeah,
doing.
I won.
They're not- they can't see us.
I drew scissors. He drew paper. For those who aren't watching on YouTube. Okay, Nosferatu is about a young man named Hutter, who
Putter, I
who is
believe.
sent to Transylvania to meet Count Orlok to finalize a real estate deal. And while he's there, he's bitten by Count Orlok, who turns out to be a vampire. And then Count Orlok learns that Nutter's wife is someone we don't really learn who she is. In the actual story, she's like the reincarnation of the love of his life, right?
Like maybe, I don't know.
Okay, well
In the
Count
book, not
Orlok
really.
sees a photo of
He
Nutter's
says
wife.
she has a nice neck.
Yeah, sees a photo of Hutter's wife, Ellen, and decides he must have her. So he packs himself into a coffin full of dirt and hops on a ship and kills everybody aboard the ship on his way to London.
45 minutes later, he arrives.
Visborg.
Wiesburg, not London.
Wiesborg.
Not London.
Yeah.
And because so many people are dying and popping up with holes in their neck, people assume it's a plague. So that happens. And then Ellen is somehow telekinetically linked to Count Orlok in a way that is not explained. But she also has this book that lets her know that the way she can kill Count Orlok, who she can feel is coming, is to tempt him for long enough that he doesn't realize the sun is coming up and he will kill himself. So she lures him into her room and he sucks her blood.
Her blood.
Just
as it's written in the movie.
just long enough that the sun comes up, he disintegrates, the plague is over. I think she still dies.
Yes. Yeah, she does.
She still
Yeah,
dies.
it looks like she died.
The whole thing, it's a silent movie made in the 1920s. It's just scored by orchestral music and narrated by title cards and sleeves from a book. Pages is the word I was looking for. That's it. I'm done.
We're hot tonight. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, Twilight is the first movie of a 5-movie saga based on a 4-book saga by Stephanie Meyer. Myers?
No one cares.
Okay.
Faster.
There's an entire generation of women who care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is incredibly formulative to the sexuality of many young women, which is mildly problematic. Anyways, so it focuses on Isabella Swan, who goes by Bella, but I refuse to use that nickname. And just cause.
Okay.
And
Stick to the synopsis.
yeah, no.
Great.
And she falls in love with Edward Cullen, who is a vampire. And she doesn't know it at the beginning. He's kind of weird and creepy around her, and then slowly she like puts together that the reason that he's being weird around her is because he's a vampire and he has an overwhelming desire to murder her. But
feast on her flesh.
like just drink her blood.
Yeah.
And then there are she starts dating Edward, and he invites her to his home, and you discover that they're a whole family of vampires who are vegetarian and they don't kill humans. They only kill animals and drink their blood. And then there are bad vampires who are murdering people willy-nilly, and they meet at a baseball game. And then the bad vampires decide that Isabella has to die. And then Edward helps his family stop that from happening. And they go to prom. The end.
Yeah.
Woot! What a film! What a monumental piece of cinema that we sat through.
Yeah, that was 4 hours of our life on like pretty rough vampire movies.
Yeah, I kind of said, like, we've discussed about, the pairings that we try and make for this podcast are, it's tricky when we keep playing with it, and like we don't try to get too formulaic about it. I kind of was joking before though that it's either like two movies that have a chance where it's like which one's going to be better ideally, or two movies that are both kind of bad and it's like which one is going to suck less. This week was one of those. I kind of knew that, but I've been wanting
There's
to rip
a good
into
vampire pun in there too. Which one's going to
Suck
suck
less?
less?
Ooh.
Spooky.
Spoopy. So
This podcast is over, guys. We should
Yeah.
just end this.
what Christmas sound effects are we going to make with our mouths? But this was tricky. I've been wanting to rip into Twilight for a while. I've never seen a movie of it. I've never read any of the books. I know nothing. I know bits of things because it's in a bit of like the zeitgeist, but it was very interesting to see. I didn't realize how much of it was like her walking into class and him making a throw up face, and then her being like, why are you talking to me? And him being like, I just like really wanna. I'm holding myself back from murdering you, but it turns me on.
Yeah,
And
but
her
I'm
being
also
like,
going to force myself to be in your presence, and it's all on you to make sure you're not around me.
Have you ever watched yourself sleep for months? Because wowee, do you look delicious, and I like you. And she's like, I'm not afraid. It's real romance. I was really
real
taken up
romance.
in the romance of this movie.
I will admit, I will
Concede.
freely admit and concede that when they finally kiss, it's pretty fucking hot.
Is that when they're in her bedroom and he's just like, I want to try something?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't move.
Yeah.
Don't. Because I might murder you if
Yeah.
you move too much.
I might
Just
kill you right now.
really gonna slowly. Don't move. I will kill you.
Like if there's one moment in the entire film where like they achieved what they were trying to do,
yeah, it worked.
it was the kiss. That one moment out of a 2-hour film. So Citizen Kane of the Week goes to.
Twilight.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Stop
All right.
those claps. Yeah. Do we want to dive into Twilight first, and then
I mean, it is fresh. We just finished
we
it, so
did
might
just
as well.
finish it. Let's just do it.
All right, let's dive.
This movie begins with the most blatant and also bad narration I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
It starts with Kristen Stewart just narrating, being like, "This is my dad, and this is me, and this is the town that I'm going to. I came here because of this." And it's
She's already really mumpy about it.
yeah, and she's like, it's like she's really not she's definitely not a good actor in these movies. I mean, or maybe she's doing something so next level that it's like it's beyond what we even consider acting.
I mean, I've never seen her do anything else in any other movie, so I'm gonna say no.
It's just her, doing her Kristen Stewart thing.
Yeah.
And which makes for just terrible narrating. Because a narrator should
I
ideally
mean, the writing
have
is a lot to blame for
Yeah,
that too.
this movie is
Yeah.
horribly written and has no like dynamic range whatsoever.
No.
So like, is Twilight to blame for the fact that Kristen Stewart kind of fell into the rhythms that she did? I'm gonna say yes.
Maybe. Did you see her in Panic Room?
No, I did not.
She's the little girl in Panic Room.
Have you seen her in Seberg?
I don't even know what Seberg is.
She's really good. It came out like it was part of TIFF last year. It was really good.
Have you seen her in Charlie's Angels?
Not yet.
Ew, really?
What?
So anyway,
Yeah.
it just makes for really like uninteresting beginning to the movie, where it's like, if you don't care about this, why would I care about it? But the movie is maybe supposed to be like angsty, sad people being like, well, we can't, because like that seems to be the vibe. Is it's supposed to appeal to the teen angst thing of like, you got to stay away from me because like I'm too dangerous, and her being like, no, like it doesn't even matter because like nothing matters. Like that's what the romance is.
Yeah.
Well, by the end of the movie, I was just wondering who hurt her in her formative years that she has such strong abandonment issues.
Because her parents are lovely.
Her parents are so nice. They
Yeah.
both love her lots, but she gets so attached to this really kind of distant guy so quickly.
Yeah.
And then when he says he's going to leave, she almost has a breakdown. and they've known each other for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So there's something clearly, there's some baggage there with this character that we never really learn about. I'm assuming, because I don't think any teen is that angsty and dependent for no reason.
Ooh.
I wish I
Hard
could.
sell.
I wish I could.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well-
Hormones are a hell of a thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are probably some.
They are, and I'm trying to look at this film through like different lenses because I am not and have never been a teenage girl, so I don't know what the angst is that is a common experience, and whether this film is a faithful representation of that in any way, shape, or form. But
I mean, I guess maybe I'm not giving enough credit to the fact that he's a vampire.
he's a vampire.
And that, I mean, if I in high school met
a vampire.
a sexy vampire who saved my life,
Yeah.
I would be very intrigued.
By punching a truck, saving your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be, I mean, that would be sexy as hell. I'd be turned on. I would. So maybe I'm being a little hard on young Kristen Stewart.
If Robert Pattinson, you're 17, you're walking to school, big truck comes your way.
Swerving in.
Woo!
Is it a sexy truck
It's
too?
a
Because you're
spooky
giving me
truck.
weird eyes, Jack.
There it is.
There it is.
So you hear that, you turn,
Jack, no more beer for you, man.
No, definitely more beer.
you turn, and that truck's coming in, and boom, Robert Pattinson's right next to you, and he's punching that truck.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I
Submit to him is the
I
answer.
cuddle into his body quickly.
Yeah.
I offer him a hand job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's more than this movie does.
Well, I mean, it's a PG movie for
It's
teens.
a Mormon movie, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. 'cause
Mormonism,
I didn't know.
I'd rather not.
No, well, I mean the Mormon foundation of this film, because
Yeah.
the author is a Mormon. Is that what it is?
Yes. And
She's pretty devout. So this movie has like not to talk about other movies that aren't this movie in the franchise, but there are like future movies, they kind of break up. So she keeps trying to kill herself because she like sees him when she's near death, and that's problematic. And the movie is like, just leave high school and get pregnant, and like just but also don't have sex before marriage.
Yep, no sex before marriage.
Just commit to eternal vampire love, and then it's okay to have sex.
But that's always, in a mild defense, that is the vampire sexuality. Is the sucking of the blood is supposed to be the like buildup of frustration from not being able to physically engage with your lover, like Harker in Dracula. Harker and Mina. They're like not married yet. He's going away, and they're going to be married. So I think their love is unrequited at that point, and it is that it's supposed to be that frustration of being unable to have like been physically with the person you love.
But the biting also is the act itself.
Yeah,
It's penetrative, right? Which is enough for, I guess, psychologists. But that's a big thing in like how vampires have portrayed various sexualities throughout history through cinema and storytelling and stuff. That it's been a theme that has appealed to various like to women and to like, I know it's been a part of like gay culture of seeing some of that of like that you were able to show men biting other men, and that was something sexual, but it wasn't overtly sexual. It was just like metaphorically sexual, but it was still kind of like like it's like a little sexual.
vampire myths are hot.
So, it's definitely important to think about the general lens thing. As you say, this movie was, and these books were very important for people that were probably like not us.
Yeah. And were coming of age around the time that they were released.
And that's totally cool. But it doesn't change the fact that there's some stuff in these stories that are, first of all, bad. And also, secondly, weird. And third of all, fucked up. Like, doesn't change that from being the case. Dan?
Well, I mean, I'm hearing you use words like weird and fucked up, and I mean, I don't know a single woman that I've met that doesn't love these movies. So I
You should
wonder.
meet different. No.
I mean, maybe, but I just wonder what it is, because I mean, I definitely see the sexual appeal,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
It is a fantasy.
well, yeah, but I was watching this movie and thinking to myself, if I was Bella, I would be fucking terrified of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He breaks into her room to watch her sleep. He's literally stalking her. He shows up with his sweet race car Volvo to an empty parking
That's
lot.
never been said before.
Yeah, he's clearly been following her, and then has a meltdown in the car
Yeah.
on the way home, just like freaking out, talking, distract me before I go back there and rip their faces off, and just like completely unhinged.
Yep. Red flag, red flag, red flag,
Red
red
flags
flag, red flag.
across the board, and at no point beyond, because she's initially turned off by him thinking she smells bad.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, she is like locked in, gung ho, 100%, refuses to leave him alone.
Like the only reason that these two people would be together is because they're physically attractive. That is the only, like, from the get-go, the only reason that like there's any chemistry between them is because they're hot. And
Well, she's in the book, she's supposed to be the
most beautiful,
thing to
stunning-
ever
yeah.
exist, right? And so that's
Which I don't. Which I also hate that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, why can't she just be anyway? Whatever.
well, I guess it's part of the fairy tale of the story,
Right.
right? So yeah, so in that regard, I guess I get what you're saying, that it's just two really gorgeous women and or really gorgeous people, and one's a monster, and there's this weird kind of sexuality involved in the whole thing. I don't know. I just couldn't relate to it at all.
It's all connected with like the fantasy is that like it's more.
I shouldn't say I couldn't relate to it at all, because there were parts that I was like, I get it, but for the most part, sorry.
Yeah, because there are those core things that, especially if you're from maybe that Mormon mindset of like, you know, the idea of like eternal love, you know what I mean? That like they're essentially pledging to, like, at the end of the movie, she's already kind of opting to be a vampire. Like, it's not like, let's get married. It's like, I want to keep living with you forever, but I've known you for 2 months kind of thing. And for some people that's like really romantic. I would say it's a bit,
Well, but see that I understood that more than a lot of other things in this movie, because when you find the first person you're in love with as a teenager,
sure, yeah.
right away,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna marry this person.
Yeah.
I'm planning our entire future together. There's nobody else. There will never be anybody else.
Yep.
So I get kind of her seeing it through that lens, which is why I appreciate him being like, yeah, maybe we just grow old together and you take some time to think about this.
Yeah, yeah. But
That's fair.
it definitely leans into the, again, it's like, it's sweet, problematic, whatever. You can like it if you like it. Of like, he's been alive for however many years, but there's something special about her, and there's something different about her that he just can't resist her scent.
They never explain in the movie what's different about her, do they?
Well,
It's just her. It starts with her scent, but I don't know.
they probably do in later movies. I'm not sure.
Right, but in this one, the first movie where you set up all the logic, they did not assert any of that.
Does it have something to do with the fact that she's the only person whose mind he can't read?
I guess, but they don't like why.
They
Why
don't.
is that?
Also, vampires can't read minds or tell the future.
Well, I mean, vampires don't normally sparkle in the sunlight either, but this movie is rewriting the rules.
This movie's rewriting all the rules.
This movie is it's smashing genres.
yeah, but it just leans into that thing where it's like,
What just happened to you, Sean?
It's hilarious.
but yeah, I find that the "you're special" thing is like a tricky. It can be both very sweet and very manipulative. Like it's just tricky.
It's a tricky film.
It's a very tricky film. I want it to be. I really do want it to be the thing that it wants to be. Like I want it to be this sweet supernatural love story, but unfortunately, it's just connected with a lot of like him being like, "You should stay away from me because like I'm dangerous. I've killed people," and she's like, "I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's
Because
okay.
you already said that I was special, so now I'm down for anything.
But I would argue that this film is exactly what it's trying to be. I don't think it's trying to be a sweet, fluffy, romantic vampire movie. I think it's trying to lean into the danger fantasy, right?
The
It's-
bad boy.
Exactly.
The reformed bad boy
Totally.
who just
Right.
wants to find something to focus on, something that he can dedicate himself to so that he doesn't fall back into his bad boy tendencies.
You keep me grounded. Like,
Yeah.
you're...
He's really just like the exaggerated form of the bad boy fantasy.
the rebel without a cause.
Exactly.
Right up to this, this film doesn't get made without like James Dean in the 50s making that film. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Digging deep. The lion falls in love with the lamb.
Are we going to talk
Huh?
about some lines in this movie?
That's one. That's a line.
Because
Isn't the lamb dumb?
I liked This Is My Homegirl Bella.
Oh yeah, that's early on.
I like all the interpretations
Choice.
of Stephanie Meyer's and the screenwriter, their ideas of, like, teenagers as played by
Yeah.
25-year-olds.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my homegirl Bella.
Yeah, I liked. Hi, I'm Jacob. We used to make mud pies together when we were kids.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a grand one.
Or I don't really like the rain. Any cold, wet thing. And then she just trails off.
I actually just made a point that every conversation is awful in this movie.
Yeah, the script is bad.
The script is somehow worse than Nosferatu.
Yeah, right?
Like,
It actually is.
like it actually
It's painful. Like Nosferatu was a slog to read everything and generally read everything twice, but this was hard to listen to from pretty much every moment of every scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to constantly acknowledge the fact that we are not the demographic for this movie.
No.
We are three.
If you are a
straight
17-year-old
men in their
girl,
30s.
turn off now.
According to Twilight, we are 3 juniors in high school.
Yeah.
Have been for the last 112 years.
That's us.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, go on. No, you were saying
Well, no, that's it. So, like, yeah, it's a really hard movie to get through, but this is. I can see how it's also kind of like porn for teen girls.
I'm not on my like 5th date with the guy that I've secretly had a crush on for like a year and a half, and finally I'm going on dates with this person or something, which, like, if I went to a date to see this film, it would probably be a really good night.
I think that I actually went to go see this movie on a date when I was like 18, 19.
Right.
Yeah. And it was definitely a movie for her. It scored me major points. I mean, it has its place for both genders, for all genders.
For all genders, except there are only 2 genders represented in this film.
a female and vampire.
Yes.
I think one of the things that makes also what it's hard, again, the weirdness of this movie is kind of hard to put a finger on because the movie itself is not clear in how it behaves. But one of the things that's weird is that it is not, and you're talking about like, oh, you get it, like when you're in high school and you find that person and you get hooked on, like, you know, like you think all that stuff you said, that makes sense. But he is not a teenager. Again, we have to reiterate.
Yeah.
Like spiritually speaking, he is older than anyone who has ever lived as a human.
Sure, but he's also not human. This movie is not presenting a story
Yes.
with that is encouraging a teenager to get with an elderly man. It is setting up a fantasy that nobody actually intends to play out in real life.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
It's make believe.
Fine.
I also have sexy microscoping
Yeah.
when they're in their
Anaphase.
science class.
Oh,
and,
telephase.
Yeah,
Oh.
just handing the microscope back and forth and
That whole
that
conversation
really
is the worst.
sweet, flirtatious banter.
Yeah. Where he mansplains and then she mansplains back and they go.
Yeah, I saw you just like feverishly writing notes every time that he was saying stuff to her. I wonder what some of those said, because one time you just screamed out gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
Oh yeah. Gaslight. Well, this whole, like most of the script is gaslighting Isabella.
And just men telling Isabella what she should be doing.
You mean
Yeah,
when
at
she's
certain
like,
times.
so when you stopped the car with your hand, he's like, sounds like you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah. You ran across the parking lot so fast. It's like, no, I was standing right next to you. You forget. You're misremembering it. You got hit in the head.
No one's gonna believe you anyways.
No one. He straight up says, no one's gonna believe you anyways. What the fuck?
And she's like,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I only counted 6 lip
She's
bites.
25, Jack.
Yeah.
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 I also like the dialogue where I actually wrote "fuck this" dialogue when she goes, "I need you to give me some answers," and he's like, "Yes, no," to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You don't get to be a 2-hour movie and keep this in your movie. Like, eat shit."
I have fuck you Nestle.
Oh yeah, fuck you,
yeah.
Nestle.
Fuck you, Nestle.
That horrible product placement with the bottles of water just sitting there when she's grabbing tap water.
From Citizen Kane versus to the Nestle Corporation, fuck you. We don't want any of your money. Never come to us. Go fuck yourself.
But Bell Media.
Mother what else did I write down? Oh, I liked the Cullens don't come to this beach, and then the next scene is them walking on the beach and Bella being like, "So the Cullens don't come here."
So you heard that, huh?
Yeah. I wrote that. Oh, so you heard that? Yes.
Yeah.
And then he tells the story, the ancient story of his ancestors' tribe meeting the Cullens, and
And they're like coming fresh from croquet. from
And the whole thing is shot like a heritage moment.
and she learns the story of his tribe preventing them from ever crossing onto their lands again because they're vampires and they don't want that evil on their ancestral land. And she says, and then what happened? And he gaslights her. Again. That's just a story, Bella. Come on.
Conversation over. We're walking now. Also favorites. There's so many great lines.
There are quite a bit.
When she's done the research she's done her Googling, and she's
Fuck these movies that have Google as the grand solution to things.
She Googles in like 4 scenes. I swear to
Oh,
God.
that reminds me. I have to Google the cold ones
Oh.
and see if it actually comes up.
because I'm pretty convinced that the first hit's going to be like beer or something, not a
cold
full
one.
detailed explanation of vampires from ancient India and Egypt.
From either Egypt, South America, and the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Were some of the categories.
Yep.
But I like she's done her Googling and she's confronting him in the forest by facing the same direction as him as he stares over her shoulder at her neck. And she's working up to saying what he is. And he's going, say it. Say it. Out loud. Say it. And then it's revealed that he's a vampire. And then he tells her about himself while running around and pulling up trees. And then he describes he's like perched in a tree and he's talking about what blood is like for him and her scent. He explains why he wanted to throw up when he first saw her. And he's like, it's like smelling you is like my own personal brand of heroin.
Wait. I missed that.
He refers to her and her, like what she does to him and like the blood, like the thing that she does to him.
Yeah.
It's his
So
own
she's a
personal
drug.
brand of heroin.
Right.
Yeah, this movie is like, toxic relationships?
Here's a lot of it.
Go for it.
Woo!
Yeah, I mean, no one's saying that it's a healthy relationship. I think that's one of the main obstacles in the entire franchise, right? Is the fact that they shouldn't be together. It's a problematic situation.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, again, in that same scene, he's like, look, I wasn't trying to be mean to you. I just wanted to kill you so bad. I needed to leave town for a few days. And she's like, I trust you.
Yeah, no, I trust you completely.
And then like one of the next scenes is him appearing in her bedroom being like, I love watching you sleep.
Yep.
And now sit still.
Sit still.
I need to try something on you.
And yeah, don't move
Because I could fucking kill you at any moment.
And then he kisses her, and it's a hot kiss. But the rest of the film.
Okay, so the cold one. The first hit is a weather forecast.
Nice.
Then it is, and then it is Quileute legends, folklore, myth, and traditional Indian something.
Right. So that's the site she went to.
Native languages of the Americas. I don't see anything about vampires. Oh, are the cold ones from Twilight a real Quillet legend? No, there are no Quileute legends about cold ones or other vampires.
There are native myths about. I wish I could remember what they're called. Wendigos. Wendigos.
Oh, the Wendigo,
is a native myth about what happens to someone when they eat another person. They become a demon known as a Wendigo, and they like change into something demonic. But I don't think that's the same as this cold one thing.
I like the line when he's when he's showing off how he can read everyone's mind in the restaurant, and he says, "Sex, money, sex, money, cats." And
It's a
he's
shot
just
of that guy who just
bartender.
smirks towards
Yeah.
the camera.
And is there any better representation of what Stephanie Meyer's mind is on constantly than money, sex, and cats? I think that's just the perfect window into her.
I mean,
I
but
mean,
all of
can
us-
you not relate to that,
Yeah.
Sean?
Money, sex, and cats, baby.
Money, sex, and cats in that order. I legitimately
Like
liked.
the whole podcast is just quoting the movie.
I legitimately liked your mood swings are giving me whiplash. I like that one.
It's hard when this movie is just filled with such crap that you have to regurgitate it communally so that you can all acknowledge you went through this together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My one more favorite is when he refers to his family as vegetarians and then explains it's because they only eat animals.
Yeah.
Um,
Not the definition I would use.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I also just liked his accent in general.
The dad?
No, Robert Pattinson.
His accent was pretty good.
What is his name?
Pattinson.
Pattinson.
Yes. I liked it. His accent was fine.
Robert Pattinson.
Pattinson.
I couldn't really place where in America it was supposed to be from.
No,
but
it's just general American. Because he's
it
English.
wasn't general American. There was a hint of something in there.
He's
for
supposed
sure.
to sound like he's from a different time. Like she says
Right.
that. Like sometimes you talk. Although I honestly don't really know what she was talking
No,
about.
but
But he's supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, there was the one line that stuck out to me as his language being like he was from a different time was when he's trying to switch out of biology class, and then the receptionist tells him no, and then he barges out and he's like, "I'll just have to endure it."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, I get it."
So he used a 2-syllable word, and that.
How many teens are throwing the word endure around?
Well, I was.
But also but that from a different time. I think there was a little bit of like a 30s shoe polishing paper boy kind of thing in his accent that I was picking up.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure
please?
can,
Okay.
but I'm telling you, if you go back and watch it, it's
All right.
there.
All right.
Remember 2 weeks ago when you tried to get me to do an accent and my brain literally fried?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's just not go down that.
I think it'd be a great weekly tradition
And get Daniel to do an accent?
as it morphs into Indian.
Something wholly offensive that we have to cut out? Yeah.
Yeah. Every part of this movie is bad. I don't know. I'm looking through my notes of like what was good. And I like, even when it's like a good note, like they had a shot that we were like, oh, that seems to be like they actually had two actors stand up in a really tall tree as they like panned around it with a drone shot. Like neat. And then it cuts to like this softcore porn, like style shot of him playing the piano and her draped on a chaise.
So yeah, it felt like it was a weird scene out of like an 80s Madonna music video or something.
Yeah.
So out of place. But I actually wrote 2 separate really well shot forest scenes ruined by shit. One was the first one where she finds out or she confronts him about being a vampire. And there's a lot of really cool cinematography happening in that shot, in that scene. Some really nice drone shots, a lot of kind of big like landscape looking shots. And then he starts running and showing off his superpowers. And suddenly we're in a weird 90s sci-fi TV show kind of thing.
It's like CG circa Blade 1.
Yeah, it's definitely like
so
the
bad.
WB like prime time lineup graphics.
Or like it screamed Buffy the Vampire Slayer to me.
Oh my God, yes.
So hardcore, right?
Yeah.
So then that was the first scene that was ruined, and then the other scene was the one you're talking about, where it ends with them on the tree, which is a really cool shot, and I think
After-
totally practical.
Super piggyback. Go. there are multiple scenes
she's piggybacking.
of the super piggyback.
Yeah.
But
And then it cuts to this weird thing where he's just playing
Yeah.
the score of the movie on the piano to her.
Oh.
Yeah, you were in the bathroom, dude. You missed it.
Wow, I
like
missed
with
that.
like
It was golden.
the lover, like the lighting is like this Latin lover lighting through like
Totally.
the one window as she's draped on a chaise, and he's just like,
the fuck?
and then it cuts to her being next to him on the piano.
Yeah.
The cuts in this movie, we
Oh,
mentioned
I was about to say like this
where like
is
we notice
poorly
the
edited.
editing.
Yeah.
It's very. It's actually like I almost like the look of the movie. Like it's the scenery.
Yeah.
Is nice. You get this idea of this cloudy, wet climate.
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is beautiful.
Yeah, and it, like the forests
When
and
it's not
stuff
on
are
fire.
great. They're like almost rainforests because they're so wet
Yeah.
and damp and whatever. But the movie is so afraid to sit on any of those shots for too long.
Yeah. So afraid.
That the cuts are like, and here's the road, and here's someone walking, and here's someone doing this, and here they're in the forest, and here they're talking finally. let's stay here for a while.
and it's best encompassed in the opening of the film when within about 30 seconds we get a shot of a deer running, a shot of something chasing the deer, a shot of the deer running away still, a shot of Bella in the car, a shot of Bella getting out of the car, and it's like every scene, just every cut it doesn't give you enough time to register exactly what's happening, and at the end of like this opening montage while she's narrating things, you're just dizzy and don't understand what's happening in front of you.
And I feel like I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to like get like a pursuit. They're trying to get this idea of tension, that there's some significance to her arrival. You know that.
Yeah. No.
But
No, and I mean, you said the forest scenes were well shot, and I do agree they were beautiful, but I guess the director was trying to represent the like dizziness of your first falling in love moment by having
like the Michael Bay pans.
yeah,
like,
by
around
having
them.
the camera rotate around the lovers 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times really fast until you can't focus on what's happening and you throw up a little in your mouth.
I think in a way that's kind of effective filmmaking. If you're trying to do what you just said, which is try to replicate that dizzying feeling of
Like 4 or 5
really
times,
intense
sure.
passion,
Yeah.
but also the confusion of this guy's a vampire.
Sure.
Right?
Like less though. Less is more.
Sure.
Less
okay.
is more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I just need to take the position of defending this movie because you guys are so vehemently against it that it needs one person in its defense.
It's almost worse than I thought. Like I thought I was gonna be like, oh, this movie's actually not bad, and it's really bad. The number of times that I like held my head,
Yeah.
and was
A lot
like,
of head holding.
and like the disdain for like filmmaking in this movie.
Yeah, it felt like it was 10 years older than it was. It felt like it was an antiquated style and approach to the subject matter, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this like no one wanted to really write a script. It seemed like they were like, well, it's gonna sell, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I think I've also seen like a bit of the writing in the books, and it's also terrible.
She is not a good writer.
So if they're just taking
But it
some
speaks
things,
to a certain demographic. I mean, again, clearly it's
the content, not the writing. You know what I mean?
Harlequin romance novels sell wildly well, but they're not good writing.
No, but they fulfill a certain need that
Yeah.
these people have.
An escape, a fantasy that you can throw
Totally.
yourself into that fulfills something you're lacking in your life.
Yeah, and I'm happy, as you say, to take the side of like this movie is important to people, but it's tricky when it's doing so, and like I don't want to say it's fully normal. Oh my god, burping. Fully like
Jack's burps right on schedule.
been drinking, but like not fully normalizing, but like they're centered around these ways of connection that are really confusing, and using the supernatural argument like isn't great to justify people being in that kind of toxic relationship
Yeah.
at that age, and where these stories go are really weird.
And then they brutally murder that guy at the end. And you don't really see it, but like she jumps on him and rips his head off, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then throws it in fire.
And they're like dancing around the fire.
They're dancing.
Too. It's not like
and
somber.
There was a bit of a primal thing,
Yeah.
which I thought was cool. I thought it was nice to see the animalistic side. Not nice, but it was interesting to see the fact that you have this family of killers and monsters
Yeah.
who have trained themselves to keep those instincts and impulses at bay.
Yeah.
So when they get to,
it's
Oh my
it's a
God.
release.
The vampires are Mormons. The vampires are Mormons. Okay.
Go on.
Well, yeah, like you
they're a big clan of them.
They're a big clan of Mormons who have trained themselves to keep their primal urges at bay. I also want to question. So, like, it's training yourself to keep all your like primal, terrifying urges at bay is like at the heart of all religion. Is to train you to like not do the theoretical bad things, so you can go to the good place.
Right.
So that's a literal translation. I also I wanted to point out that is the
Theologian
house
and scholar.
is the
Chandra.
house that the Cullens live, because the Cullens aren't actually a blood family, right? They're
No.
they're a bunch of vampires who all live the same philosophy and they live together.
And
Well,
the
they were all
doctor bit them
sired
all.
by
And the doctor-
Carlisle.
Right. Okay. So he bit them all. That's nice. It's just a sex orgy house, right? A vampire sex orgy house. That's because they're all coupled. They're all in couples. They're all living together. It's just a cult. The Cullens are a cult.
I mean, that's
They live far into the woods.
Yeah.
The one guy provides all the money. He provides the direction that the family lives in. He gives like the orders on how they're supposed to live. They're all together with their couple. I don't know if they're all having sex together or whatever.
No, but Sean, but this is different because intimate connections with people outside of their group is forbidden.
It's forbidden. And when it's allowed, it's when a guy goes and says like, I really want to fucking murder you. Do you want to meet my mom?
Hey, I feel like we've come a long way. I haven't murdered you for like 3 dates now. You want to meet my family?
Yeah.
They've also agreed not to murder you.
Yeah. And like I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to say it. The Pacific Northwest, the whole Pacific like coastline is rife with creepy sex cults, including a lot of Hollywood actors who get roped into these creepy weird sex cults. So I'm just saying it's there. I'm just saying it's there to be looked into in the film.
Hashtag conspiracies. Hashtag spoopy Hollywood.
Spoopy woo! Are we not doing that every time someone says
I mean,
spoopy?
it's been me.
Spoopy! I got you,
been
buddy.
You
I got
on
you.
it, mainly.
I'm on it.
Did anybody else feel like the bad vampires also had like a 90s alt rock band?
I mean, the guitar riffs when they came in, the
And
stings.
and the really cool
Straight from Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, and the really cool like 90s rock wardrobes they had.
Yeah.
They walked out of the smoke, like not just like mist, smoke.
Smoke.
Yeah.
In their like big fur coats or whatever they were wearing.
The music was so bad in this film too. It was a soundtrack created just to sell the album. It wasn't.
Yeah,
music that was
there
good
were
for the
there
film.
were a few times where a scene was happening that was supposed to be serious and dramatic and heavy, and there was just weird kind of bubbly soundtrack playing underneath it. So yeah, distracting for sure. There was a couple of Muse tracks in there.
Yeah,
They had some
the one for the
Radiohead.
baseball, Radiohead, which
Radiohead on the credits.
they're great songs, but like that Muse
Not-
song over
no.
the baseball game was out of place.
That whole
and
baseball
distracting.
game was weird.
Yeah, they-
kind of fun to watch,
8
but
people
out
playing
of place.
baseball, hard to do.
Well, they're vampires.
Right.
They have superhuman abilities.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I give in. Yeah.
Also, okay, so just so I'm clear, the only reason the reason they could only play baseball during a thunderstorm was because the sound of them hitting the ball with the bat was so loud and sounded like thunder. They needed the thunderstorm to disguise the baseball game.
That's just good world building.
But did I get that right? Is that what that's supposed
Sure.
to be?
It sounds correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Oh man, I feel drained after that film.
It's but also honestly, I don't know. I feel weirdly energized.
Yeah, that's good.
Like because it's
Probably
like
the beer.
Probably the beer actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's like I'm not again we're trying to be sensitive with this movie because we don't want to alienate people if you've enjoyed this movie because it is important to people. But we also are entitled to love to hate it if we want to, and I definitely love to hate this movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the kind of thing that I would, if someone liked it, I would like tear them down. I never would.
No.
But it's, you know, like there's just a lot about it that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So much that it is fun. Like I felt like I was watching it being like, what? And no, How, like, at every moment.
I was watching you watch this movie, and the amount of times that you just like squeezed your head in disbelief.
Yeah.
It was enough for me.
Yeah. Like,
That was
again,
more entertaining.
like, I have to reiterate, like even just how they did that narration and how disdainful it was of like filmmaking, that they had her being like moving to a town with only like 3,510 people as they drove past like a sign that had the name of the town on it, that didn't have the population on it. Like, you could just have a sign that we read as they drive into town, and then we learn, oh, it's a small town, without her being like, it only has exactly 3,000. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's so anti-filmmaking. It's just trying to execute the books to get the money.
Yeah. I just finished making notes about Nosferatu, about like, show don't tell, please stop. I mean, it's hard for silent movies, I guess, to show not tell, because they have to write the dialogue out. But I was writing, oh god, this is they're just telling me everything, there's no showing what the hell's going on. And then this movie started, and we were right into the telling not showing. It was horrible.
Can we go back to Nosferatu, please?
They again, I have to iterate. They show us these cool scenery shots of the forest and the moss, and like, it's cool. You don't learn anything from those scenic shots.
No.
You don't learn anything about them. Nothing.
Right.
Everything you learn is from someone, like, they literally sit down and she's like, so can you do this? And how long have you been alive? And like, and he's like, well, this and this and this and this, which, you know, has a place in this kind of a movie.
Certainly.
But that's how everything comes about. Like, you don't get to infer anything.
Well, I think I'm done pooping on this film.
Well, okay. How much time is left in the timer?
Like 25.
Okay, so then I just have one more question for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in Bella's position. Roles reversed. It's your partners. You found out that they're vampires.
Sure.
And you have the option to be turned into vampires yourselves to live forever.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Big time.
Is that because you would like be down to live forever as a vampire, or because you want to stay with your partner forever, or both?
I mean, both certainly, but probably more that I want to see, like.
Is this Halloween episode or Valentine's Day?
But you can, and you want to see what the
I want to see what
looks
happens.
like.
Yeah.
But you can never die. I mean, I guess you can die because you can kill yourself.
Yeah, the sun's going to explode and dissolve all life on Earth eventually.
in a few billion years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm into it.
What about you?
Jeez. All right.
Nosferatu. We should probably switch over to that before the
Yeah, we'll
timer
switch.
explodes.
There's not a lot to talk about in that movie. It was 90 minutes of silence.
There's not
But
much
we can get it. I'm so intrigued by this question because I think it tells a lot about the person.
Oh man, it's a hard answer. I don't know. The thing is, we've talked about this. I find it fascinating, the idea of someone who's been alive kind of longer than they should.
Yeah, you love that shit.
I love that shit. So probably for that reason I'd be down. I don't like the vampiric part of it though. Like, I don't give a shit about that. But if it was just like
Well, it's really a question more so of you have the opportunity to become an immortal. Do you take it?
yes, but the caveat of the vampire thing, because I know, like, again, and I'll say I know, but it's like it would change you if I could become a vampire and be one of these vampire vegetarians. Like, I don't want to hurt people. But after 300 years go by and you realize that no one's really significant in comparison to your life, like, it's going to mess with your brain.
Yeah.
And then it's like, cool, I'm just going to start murdering because, like, whatever. And
Because these people are literally animals.
yeah, and it'll start with like a righteous, I'll murder those that are bad because I'm immortal and I'll eat them. And eventually it's like, good and bad are relevant and I'm just going to eat everybody.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
So nihilism is the end zone of being a vampire.
Potentially. Again, if we start talking about the immortality thing, I think eventually you end up with you become like the most supreme neutral being. Like, you become both everything and nothing anyway. Immortality is a hell of a thing. Eternity is a hell of a thing. Heaven and hell are the same thing. Anyway, that's
Ooh, who's a theologian now?
Religion is silly.
Daniel, would you?
No, I don't think I would.
No?
Well, I mean, kind of one of the issues I have with the idea of an afterlife, religiously speaking, is the fact that the only thing that really gives, I think, the only thing that gives your life any kind of meaning or any kind of satisfaction is the fact that it's finite, right? You can only derive satisfaction from your life because you don't have it forever.
Right.
So you have to make the best of it while you have it. If you suddenly have all the time in the world, then everything becomes meaningless.
Spoken like a true mortal.
Is this your way of revealing that you're immortal, Jack?
I mean, fuck. Oh, that would be lame. That'd be
Yeah,
so
that'd be
the
really-
that would be the lamest
way.
Dropping
reveal
it
ever,
in
yeah.
episode 13 of a podcast that like 26 people listen to.
With a fucking
Yeah.
candle on the table and
Ooh,
a
spooky.
finished glass of
Spooky.
Krabby's ginger beer.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
okay. I also have
You can save it.
fuck you credits for this
fuck
movie.
you credits.
Yeah, fuck you credits. Yeah.
At least the movie had an ending, which I appreciated, but the credits, I thought they were just re-showing us clips from the movie.
Yeah, our favorite parts.
I almost wished it was a blooper reel.
Where he is sucking the blood from her wrist, but is like, yeah, all right.
I mean, technically, by showing just scenes from this movie, I would argue that it is a blooper reel.
Oh, shady.
Yeah,
Shady Rennie.
I mean, I gotta keep it shady. It's a spooky episode. Okay,
Nosferatu.
Let's jump into Nosferatu.
Movie.
First of all, I want to say I commend you, Dan, for trying to give a synopsis of Nosferatu and not just being like, well, it's Dracula.
Yeah, that would have been what I did.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that I've known of the Dracula character my entire life, and
Right.
this was the first time that I really dissected the story
fair,
in any way.
fair.
I didn't know it.
Right. Yeah, I've looked at this. I did a show of Dracula.
Well, I was going to
so
suggest that maybe you should have done it because you have a better understanding of the details of the movie. But
But I
this
think
doesn't really
it's-
even cover the full story,
Yeah,
right?
I made a note of being like, so it's based on Dracula so much, but fully not Dracula. Like,
Yeah.
why?
It runs
Like,
out.
why
It
did
runs
they
out
do
of steam
that?
halfway through the Dracula story and just
Yeah,
ends.
and it draws out like the first third of the novel, and then it just ends, and they change all the characters' name. Like, I don't know why they wanted to adapt Dracula but not do Dracula.
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
Not to this film's credit, to equate this film to other Dracula adaptations, I have never seen an engaging and interesting representation of the protagonist's journey to Transylvania and his stay in the castle. I guess Act 1 of this film. Every other film, show, version of that, I don't really remember it from what you were doing, so I can't comment on your thing.
It's also
That is just the most
Cut.
boring thing. Where Harker in the Dracula novel goes to Transylvania and to quote Keanu Reeves, "I'm very tired right now and I miss you so much." And that's all. It's all.
That's your Keanu Reeves.
That's
Man,
my
I
like.
love your impressions.
That's my
gotta
2000
say.
Keanu Reeves.
It's him. It's Keanu trying to do a British accent.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I have some documents for you to fill out, my lord.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's
We'll
the
do that
worst.
more when we do Dracula. That Dracula.
Yeah, if we do that Dracula. I mean, we maybe will. We talked
It's
about
boring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this movie
Well,
does it boring,
it's
but every movie does
Yeah,
it
but
boring.
they do it for 30 minutes in this movie
Yeah.
almost.
I mean, to be fair, it's a pretty boring plot point, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know how you make that exciting, really.
Yeah.
By shortening it.
Except there's a Leslie Nielsen vampire
Dracula
movie.
Dead and Loving It.
I think that one is pretty.
I haven't
pretty
seen that in
entertaining.
ages. Yeah.
Me neither.
Mel Brooks.
Is that Mel Brooks?
Mel Brooks, baby.
Oh, we need to get some of that in our lives.
We do. We
We need more Leslie Nielsen on this show.
Yeah. Do a Naked Gun.
Is he available? Could we?
Hey man, he did Surf Ninjas. I'm sure he's up for anything.
He's a vampire now.
Oh man, let's do Surf Ninjas real
Yeah.
soon. So first thing I want to say about this movie, watching it, and it was fun to watch, honestly, to get into the we talk about the classics, right, in this movie, and that's stretched from what we once tried to do in one of our pre-episodes. We did try and do Citizen Kane, but
Yeah.
it didn't work. We'll do another one eventually, and that was interesting to watch. But this is early.
This film is 98
cinema.
years
like
old.
as classic as it gets. I
Yeah.
don't know what other movies came out around this time, but it's one of the oldest movies out there. I think it has to be.
And as I don't know, I can't call it campy, I can't call it bad. You can't, because
No.
it's so different.
Yeah.
It leaves you, I found at least, it leaves me not in awe, but
There are
it
striking
humbles you.
moments.
I think it humbled me a bit to what cinema is in a little way, where I was watching it from the perspective of the 1922 person and realizing that the first couple of shots are just a person doing something and then a woman playing with a cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's this must have been straight up magic to people.
I thought about that the entire way through.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
This must have been the craziest shit people had ever seen. And now, where like the CGI wasn't good in Twilight.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Nosferatu, the special effects is like it jumps to stop motion as like a blanket goes like burp, 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 up, and they must have been like it must have blown like the shot of him tilting up out of the coffin, which
made us go, whoa.
Yeah, it was still super cool.
Shot.
Yeah.
It must have terrified people and blown them away, and they must have been like, what evil sorcery is this?
What vampire is making this film?
Yeah. So
well, I mean, you made a comment about how people would have had to get their news from just the drummer boy in the street.
yeah.
Which is kind of what you're talking about. The fact that this is not too long after a time where people didn't have radios, they didn't have TVs, right?
Yeah.
So to go from getting your news from the guy screaming in the middle of the road to watching guys floating on screen and disappearing and reappearing.
Yeah, when Nosferatu is murdered, we laughed because is killed. We laughed because they just like fade him out of, like, I guess they probably shot him, and I don't know what the trick would have been, but he just like slowly disappears from frame, and then it cuts really sloppily to
the room,
some fog emanating from where he was.
Pile of smoke coming up from where he was.
And we laughed, but legitimately that would have been cutting edge motion picture technology that no one had seen at that point.
Well, and also keep in mind that this was like an experimental abstract art film when it came out, so it was also looking at it through that lens, it was pushing a lot of boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of we realized in a way made the mistake of watching the like HD corrected version of it.
Don't do that. Wrong.
Watch the original cut where they haven't updated the orchestration to be like an orchestra being like rum pum 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 pum, but it's like an organ being like rum pam pam rum pam 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 pam. Like it's
a good organ.
Thank you.
Can you just keep doing that while Sean and I continue talking?
And we thought it was like a messed up color thing, but it's a choice where, because it's always daytime in the movie because they couldn't shoot at nighttime, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's like there's times when it's clearly the middle of the day and someone says like it's approaching midnight, like on one of the cards that comes up, and we would be like, but in the original they actually colored it. They put like a filter over the daytime that it was kind of like a reddy orange.
Yeah.
And then
it
at
was
night
just like a
it was
warm and cool filter.
Yeah,
so it was
and then
like
it was
bluish purple at night.
Yeah. And it actually, we just kind of skimmed through some shots, and we were like, oh, this would have been way better
to watch.
So
instead.
the HD, they didn't know how to actually like update that movie. They fucked up.
Yeah.
Like they really didn't get it when they did that.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
And they updated the graphic, the text cards to be digital. So it's a digital, they put it in digitally. Whereas I kind of would have preferred to have the old like splotchy, like title card that kind of is moving around the screen a little bit.
We didn't get the classic experience of this movie.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like I made notes about how like those cards would come up for a long time. So I was like, so could people not read back then? And then they'd show the same card again. Like we'd see the same card multiple times. Like so people couldn't read and they would easily forget what they just read. But to reiterate, the HD version was 8 minutes longer than the original version.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling part of that was in those fucking cards that they were like...
Well, yeah, because I can't imagine they could have added any more footage.
Do you think that was a whole like discipline of filmmaking, was the card guy who like plotted out how long the cards were up, and he had an artistic vision for like how the scene needed to move, so he knew how long each card had to be? And
I think that probably would have been the editor.
I guess so.
Yeah.
The card guy. I'm gonna call him the card guy now.
Great. I have no idea what film crew positions there were in the 20s.
Why not?
Because I'm uneducated and misinformed, Sean.
Oh, Daniel.
Also, speaking of the score in this movie, there were times where they were going for tension and drama, and I just couldn't not hear like the Pink Panther.
There was a lot of aggressive xylophone.
A lot of xylophone, a lot of like just forcing images of like a cartoon cat skulking through a room.
Yeah. So our orchestration was lacking. The one that we
get that
we listened
organ
to.
because the organ it seems great. Although that organ for an hour and a half probably would have been insufferable. Admittedly.
But I feel like that coupled with the appropriate color of the movie would have created more of an experience.
Yeah.
Because I was watching that movie the whole time thinking to myself, how is this an art house film? I don't see it. But I think that those elements would have really tied the whole thing together. It would have been kind of hard to tolerate for that long.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But more arguably more connected than they were when what we watched for the whole thing. We kind of quickly skimmed the other one.
Yeah.
I also just want to like talk about the cards though as like the writing of the film in a way. And first of all, one say I appreciated that they were kind of dark and sinister, and they leaned into like that the language was always incorporated some aspect of like, and the what do they call it? The hellbird or the death bird.
The death bird, yeah.
The death bird and stuff that they were like, oh, that's like interesting language, and they leaned into that. But also some of your first exposure of that are people saying things, quotation marks, to people. And I made a note of like, it's a world where people say only weird shit, where someone just stops and being like, hey, slow down. You can't outrun your fate. And then like end of scene. And I'm like,
in the middle of the street.
yeah. And he brings Ellen flowers, and he's like, I brought you flowers. And she's like, but why would you kill them? Why kill the flowers?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this world is weird.
It is weird. It's very much like a Grimm's fairy tale kind of aura to it at the beginning, I'd say.
Yeah.
I also got the impression that for all of Act 1 and most of Act 2, Nutter is just high on MDMA.
Yeah.
He is laughing maniacally
Yeah.
for no reason. And
Everyone is.
And Ellen, I think, is on Valium because she is low and depressed inexplicably.
Yep.
I guess they describe her as the anxious wife who he needs to pass off to his friends to wife sit while he goes to Transylvania.
Yeah.
Because she's so anxious about
Because she's so anxious about his
knows
departure.
he's gonna get hurt. She's worried.
The card says, like, literally, and so he left his anxious wife with his friends.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that brilliant, like 5-minute comedy ending where he runs around town with the coffin?
Oh my
Where
God.
Nosferatu's just running around with a coffin, and it's huge, and he's carrying it, and it's right out of a Marx Brothers film.
I was like, I made a note being like, this Nosferatu's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I wanted the xylophone at that point.
Again,
he's running around town
because
with
Sean
his coffin.
left the room briefly, Jen and I rewound the video to show his exit from the boat that he came
Oh, right.
in again, where he just like came out like.
I have that written down as stop motion peekaboo.
Yeah.
That's what I have written.
Yeah, his head just kind of creeps up through the galley, the entrance into the galley.
But with the most mischievous look on his face.
I'm gonna give props to Max Schreck. This film,
Was that his name?
Yeah, the actor who played Nosferatu. Like, it's cheesy and campy, but every film probably made in 20s to us is gonna look cheesy and campy.
Well, it's
he's
theatrical.
Creepy when he wants to be creepy.
Totally.
And the prosthetics, you can tell the prosthetics, but like they work. And it's very theatrical, but it's great.
It's a great look. Like it.
Him
People
and
still know that look.
Him and Knock was his
Knock,
name. The guy who looked just like
Yeah.
a
The insane
troll.
asylum guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like the realtor who went crazy and stuff. Yeah.
So was he setting up Nutter from the beginning, sending him to Transylvania?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because he got the
he would-
hieroglyphic message written in Transylvanian.
Spooky.
language.
So he was a
that you
minion of fuck. What was his name?
I guess so.
What's
Count Orlok.
Count Orlok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, that's never really. I kind of assumed he'd been brainwashed by the writings and the nice picture of a house that was on the hieroglyphic page that he read. Thought maybe like some magical incantation on the page made him.
Oh, put him
submit
under
to
some
the
kind of
will
spell or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I can see that part of it.
but
too.
that's open to interpretation. I have no idea.
Well, there's a lot left to be explained and desired in this movie. What happens in the book? Because you were saying that this entire movie only covers the first like third of the actual story, right?
Well, yeah. This movie is an hour and a half, and like the first hour and 15 cover. I know this because I didn't finish the book.
Right.
Of like the first hour and 15 of this movie covers the first like maybe half of the book, and then jumps to the end where he's just like dead. And like they take like 30 minutes to talk about his journey across the sea, whatever sea it is, on his boat in his coffin in the dirt, yada yada. And they like take a lot of time to explain that, which like is like whatever. And even once he arrives, they like go back and they look at the ship's logs. Like they really want us to know about that. And that happens like approaching the hour mark, and that's in the first like quarter of the book.
Well, I mean, it could be argued that that's kind of what this story is about. The story is about his trip from Transylvania to Wiesberg and the bringing of the plague, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because nothing really happens once he gets there. He finds Ellen and dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The movie is about him kind of boarding the ship and coming to, and the impending
I mean,
threat.
there is 15 minutes of the ship approaching the dock.
So many shots of ships.
Yeah. And it's all within 15, all just it approaching shore. Also, there's a graveyard on the ocean.
Beach.
That's highly problematic. That's not going to be a good graveyard. Just heads up to the town of Wiesborg. Your dead are going to be bloated on the shore pretty quick.
Yeah,
Well, and also-
look, sorry, hold on, Dan. Okay. We made a point to not alienate the female viewers who really connected with Twilight. I think we also need to not alienate our Wiesborgian listeners. Listening. So Wiesborgians and what was the name that the title that the guy had that we kept making
Paracelsians,
all the
which means a
Paracelsians?
physician.
Oh, it does.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah.
It's fine if you want to have a cemetery on the ocean.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. Your dead will be desecrated and ripped apart by birds. Yeah.
But also, side note, graveyards and cemeteries are silly ideas. We should stop using them.
Yeah, it's true. We should be just like throwing people into the woods, but
Yeah, or like burning the dead bodies. Don't use up
Sure.
valuable real estate.
so Twilight did it better, is what you're saying. Burning the dead.
I think so.
Okay.
I've said for years that when I die, I only want to have a Viking-style funeral where my body is draped in cloth and placed on a wooden raft and pushed out to sea and set ablaze by burning arrows.
You could probably get a nice boat for about the cost of a coffin.
It's illegal to do though, actually, unfortunately. You can't do it.
Yeah,
even in Scandinavia?
I mean, maybe
There's
not.
got to be somewhere in the
Wiesborg?
world where I can do it legally.
Russia.
Yeah, or just do it. I mean, my girlfriend's mom has a house on the waterfront.
Just do it in their pond.
Just do it in their pond. I'll be gone before anybody catches wind of it. But yeah, anyways, I won't go on a rant about cemeteries. But I think that was so dumb.
That's also my favorite part of speaking of little boats on little bits of water. We mentioned Nosferatu running through town with his coffin, like like some. Yeah, it's funny. Like but then it cuts to a shot of just like a little body of water, and a boat starts creeping into scene, like into
and
the
it's
shot.
still him just
And it's
carrying
still
the
him
coffin.
carrying the coffin as he's like slowly drifting across towards his home. It is hilarious.
But it's those moments. I think I said this out loud. Who is looking through the lens of the camera and seeing that shot and deciding it's a good idea to move forward with?
Yeah. And I was like, why did they feel that they needed to show us this? Like, I didn't need, if you were just like, and then he was at his home, I'd be like, yeah, I imagine he crept there at night. But then they have a shot where he like fades into nothingness only when he gets just outside of his house. It's like, so he'll walk through the parks, he'll get a boat to cross this bit of water, but he won't take the door into the house itself. Then he'll fade through. Come on, movie.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
Like the time when they explain in detail how Count Orlok's voyage went, and then they show in detail how Count Orlok is murdering people on the boat one by one. And then in the card, they're like, it's difficult to say how Hutter got back to home, but he did. And they just like write off completely his journey back home and make no attempt to explain it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
By that point in the movie, I had enough of Nutter anyways, I think. So
Butter? Cutter?
Stutter?
Water?
Because the acting in this movie in particular started by Nutter Butter is that that apparently all you needed to be an actor in that day was just to like smile and laugh maniacally.
And to have big eyes.
And big eyes.
And look like Quicksilver from X-Men First Class.
He really looks like Quicksilver. Thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome.
Hashtag X-Men First Class. I don't know.
Marvel sponsorships.
This podcast is joining the MCU.
Yeah.
The Thanos teasers are teasing our... Okay. Yeah, but like there are the shots of him with Knock where like Knock is like, you're going to go to this thing. And then they just like smile and laugh into each other's faces, wide-eyed.
Yeah.
They just had no idea how to do acting on film yet. And so, I mean, it's often funny, but it's interesting to see. Like, it's experimental. Like, this is the earliest of shit. Like, it's...
I also I appreciate how this is an unlicensed just ripoff of Dracula. It would be like if we decided to make a movie where our protagonist was Metal Dude and he was taking on the evil Thinnis, who is trying to congregate his power boot. He's trying to get all the like super gems for his power boot so he can eradicate half of the life in the universe.
Yeah. I want you to know I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I totally lost you.
This sounds actually like a brilliant original screenplay.
And Metal Dude teams up with Lieutenant Switzerland to take down.
You don't see what he's doing?
Thanos, and you don't see
Iron Man.
Metal Dude.
Oh right.
Lieutenant Switzerland.
Oh, I see. Now I'm with you.
That's essentially what this movie was doing.
I think I need another.
But okay, so here's my question, because by now Dracula has to be
now it is
public domain.
Yeah.
So does that mean that any movie that's doing an iteration of Dracula is free to do so, or has it been? Are they buying rights to it now because it's been rehashed so many times?
There's the alarm. I think it's just free to do. You just take the story and you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, no studio owns Dracula.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that's our alarm, which means we're going into our lightning round, which we've so aptly called Likes and Grapes. Likes and Grapes, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we get to
likes and grapes.
Do a rapid fire laundry list of all the things we have yet to say about these movies. Sean, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. So Nosferatu likes. There's a little book that is filled with vampiric knowledge that Hutter reads briefly and then throws to the ground, and then like three frames later picks up again and just like whips violently on the ground. I like that.
Where'd that come from? The book? I can't ask questions.
It was just like in the room he was staying in.
It's lightning round. Keep going.
I liked the music for the most part, but there were issues by the end after I'd written that. The negative shot where everything went negative as they were riding through the forest and then went back to normal. That was pretty cool. Max Schreck. The raft was kind of cool when they were going down the river and the raft oarsmen were oaring. That was I didn't realize that was a form of transportation.
Steer from the front of a raft.
Yeah, pretty dope. Rising from the ship. We noticed when he's in the hold and he like
that upward tilt
planks his way up.
Yeah.
I don't know what I wrote. That feasting shot. I have no idea what that means. Gripes. Circle zooms. Circle zooms in it, or circle fades, I guess, in and out. Real bad. Not making bite marks more noticeable in your black and white film. All you have to do is make them black and they'll show up. Murdering rats on camera and constant repetition of the cards. So that's for Nosferatu. And for Twilight, my likes, I put nothing. But then after that, I wrote Charlie the dad. He gave an honest effort in this film. He was one of the more like understandable characters, and he didn't try to do too much, but I think that's all you have to do for him. Sucking the venom out. That was hilarious. I'm in for that. Gripes. Her inability to use a ketchup bottle was highly problematic. All of the speed running, all of the camera work, and playing baseball just means that Bella sits and watches, which reminded me of the Plymouth Brethren School back where I'm from, where all the young boys get to have gym and the young girls have to sit and watch the boys play. So there's that.
Oh my God, I want to unpack that later. Jesus, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So, let's see. Nosferatu. I like that they cast a hyena as a wolf. That's all I'm going to say about that. I like that in the past, before people knew better, they would just like drink wine in the morning. That's great. I like the dude who had a pipe that extended to the floor that had a desk attachment.
Oh, I want one so bad.
It's like this long, and then he hears something and he gets up and he like locks it into a thing on his desk, and it's like this big. It looks like a bass clarinet. It's hilarious. The fact that the doctor refers to what's going wrong with Ellen or someone as blood congestion is hilarious to me. I'm just saying things about the movie. I thought the shot that they got of like the carnivorous plant was actually really cool. Like I don't like they got that at the time.
Was it under a microscope?
No. Like that's just close up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The Venus flytrap.
Yeah, Venus flytraps are like pretty.
Oh,
like,
I think I missed that shot. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like a close up on a fly-sized thing. The fake hair is delirious, but like gripe, fuck me, those repeated shots of the ships of all kinds of stuff, like them just like not having enough material to make this a feature for what it needed to be like play-ish length or something. The special effects for the magic are hilarious. I just have a note. Sorry, that it's like people used to be fucking stupid, eh? Like putting crosses on the doors to protect you from whatever. Like I just find that stuff very silly. Like the past.
I have crosses on doors. Religion is silly. That's
Yeah, exactly. So same kind of thought. The silhouette. The silhouette of him coming up the stairs and stuff of Nosferatu.
Oh yeah,
that's
cool.
That's a great shot to this day. That's awesome with the pointy fingers and stuff like that. We laughed about his like mouth guard with little fangs drawn on it. Like his fangs are where his incisors are, not where the canines would be.
Pointy rat teeth.
So he looks ridiculous, which is like kind of works. And I thought the dawn effect, how they showed the dawn, they had a little cutout outside the window and they had a light slowly pan down on it. It was just like adorable that they did that. That was how they showed dawn coming in. Twilight, oh my God, I think it's going to be mostly gripes. Just everything everyone says and does is off. The fact that she just like shakes a bottle of ketchup over her plate.
Yeah.
The fact that they're like all the vampires are like 140, but they still like going on field trips apparently, is something funny. I also have like a fuck you to Nestle in their bottled water. Anna Kendrick is like trying to have fun in this movie.
Yeah.
She's like trying to not make it a big mopey fest. So I think thank you, Anna Kendrick. I think I am a fan.
Yeah,
you're fun.
Big fan.
Not a big fan, but I'm a fan.
I'm a big fan.
I have many notes that essentially boil down to like fuck this dialogue. At least there are native people in this movie. That's cool. That exist and have like a part of the movie. That's neat. Oh, and then the end, it's a likey gripe where it's like, I love to hate it so much, where he's sucking the venom out of her and it's clearly like a sexual thing and the music is like, it's like supposed to be like tense and they're dancing around the fire in the background and she is going fully like, like cross-eyed.
Little cross-eyed, yeah.
Like it's the best, most confusing feeling she's ever felt in her wrist. Is it her wrist that she's feeling? Like
but she feels it in her entire body.
In her whole body. It's like a full body, like. So those are my random thoughts, likes and gripes. Mainly gripes. Well, mainly likes for Nosferatu and mainly gripes for Twilight.
Cool. Nosferatu. I have classic handshake and maniacal laughter. Like. Wife's stroke at learning Nutter is leaving to the land of phantoms. Like. I want that barkeep's mustache. So like.
It sounds like a gripe. Sounds like you're jealous, Dan.
Well, I like the mustache. It's a gripe that I don't have it.
Right, it's both. Okay. Cancels out.
Clan horses on coke and Nosferatu's Robin Hood hat. Like both of those. Yeah. I like the Halloween clock. Gripe. Never cut bread towards yourself. Always cut away. Yeah, that's how you keep vampires away.
Were suspect.
I liked suckles your blood.
Blood.
Your blood.
Blood.
I have. Wait, did Nutter watch Orlok ride away and then decide to climb out the window?
Yes, he was trapped in the castle.
He was locked in the castle?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then fuck that one. I never thought I'd be so excited to watch Twilight, so I guess that's a gripe with the movie in general. I like
How'd that work out?
Hey, I stand by it. I liked Nosferatu makes a super death ship. I liked Christopher Lloyd as a crazed knock. My gripe was, why isn't Nutter dead when all the other seamen have died from getting bitten? Also, the captain's neck holes were way too far apart for Nosferatu's rabbit teeth.
And on his esophagus.
Which made zero sense.
Yeah.
Why does Orlok need to buy real estate to begin with? He's an
He's
immortal
an investor.
vampire.
He just needs to diversify his portfolio a little bit, okay?
I mean, okay. I liked Plague, very topical. And yeah.
The parade of coffins that is going down the street at one point.
And just the street flooding with people when they decide that they found the perpetrator.
Yeah.
The scapegoat.
Also, the way they blame Nock for the plague is he strangled him. He's a vampire. That was a gripe.
Yep.
I have Shadow Grope, which I guess was a like.
Yeah.
When Nosferatu just uses his shadow to grope Ellen's boob.
Yeah.
That's all I have for that.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, Twilight. I griped with creepy old Santa in the diner.
Yep.
Which was weird.
But then he dies, so
Yeah, I guess, but was he hitting on her?
yes.
Hey, remember when I played Santa when you were 5?
Yeah.
What?
But it made quite the impression, though, right?
Yeah, it's gross. No one questions why Dr. Cullen doesn't look any older than any of his kids. Was this before or after Robert Pattinson was in Harry Potter? That's just a question. That's
After.
not.
After.
This was after?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I have Edward. Stop being such a dink. Gripe. Fuck you, Nestle. Gripe. I liked his accent and his sweet Volvo. I hated the use of Google in this movie. I more than anything hated how bad the CGI was for his superpowers and his stupid sparkly fucking skin.
So bad.
Awful. I was indifferent to the strong Buffy vibes.
Likes gripes and indifferences.
I guess, yeah. I'm just reading notes at this point. I was confused by where the mental superpowers came from, so that's a gripe. I don't understand why some of them can read minds or see the future or none of the above.
No, it's bad writing.
Gripe. Fuck you credits.
But, like, seriously.
Daniel
fuck
out.
you.
All right.
Let's
do it.
So we're going to rate these movies now and decide which one of them is the Citizen Kane of the week. We do this by taking 5 categories: looks good, sounds good, acts good, story good, and rewatchability. That'll be a fucking one for this
Or
week.
would you rather?
Or would you rather? Or enjoyability. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah.
Yep. And essentially, whichever movie gets the majority of those 5 categories, we declare the Citizen Kane of the week. Sometimes, like often in the past, I do a quick brainstorm of which one, but we just watch these movies, and like I said before, this is a debate of which one is bad less. And so let's talk about looks good. So
looks.
And I think let's keep in mind, in a way, the version that we saw afterwards as well. I think for both these categories of looks and sounds, we need to consider the organ aspect of it,
sure,
the different colorization of it.
Sounds good will be hard because we don't actually know what that whole movie sounded like if we're going based on that, right?
Yeah, but even still,
we can infer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with looks good. Twilight.
Why?
It was easier to watch. I appreciate what Nosferatu was going for. I think that had I been a person in the 20s, it would have literally blown my mind to bits.
You are a person in the 20s.
Oh my God.
Fuck yeah.
Where do we go from here?
It's over.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say how much of you, because I'm part of me, is mad that this movie came out in 1922, and Twilight came out in what, 2008?
2008.
Like almost 100 years later.
And there's a debate right
and
now.
that's how far they got. They got as far as fucking Twilight. Anyway,
I mean, if you compare the two, it's pretty impressive what they can do now compared to
Sure,
what they
yeah.
did
If we
in the
showed
20s.
Twilight to the same audience in 1922,
They would think we were aliens.
They burn us at the stake.
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, there are better representations of how far we've come. Anyway,
There's Gods of Egypt.
yeah. So looks, I mean, it's tough because like Nosferatu to me actually gets to stand in like a different world when comparing them because it's not even remotely the same thing as Twilight. But I'm struggling because I hate all of the prolonged shots in particular.
But were there any shots in Twilight that will stay with you?
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
The tree shot was pretty cool. Them standing in the tree.
I mean, it stood out as not being
How'd they get to the
trash.
tree, Daniel?
Super piggyback. Go. That's the funniest fucking scenes.
It doesn't matter how they got there.
I can't explain it. I'm leaning Nosferatu. And not because it's not one of those things. If we were talking about which movie has better cameras and can set up lighting better, then yeah, it would be Twilight. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about which movie is doing something with what it is. And Twilight is just like, it's not making choices. It's just like moving around and showing us things.
I beg to differ. I think that at the very least, it established its own unique visual tone.
Sure.
So it may not be using all of its cinematography to propel the story forward, but it's still creating its own world through use of the camera, which is more than Nosferatu was doing. Nosferatu was in a time where you couldn't really afford to do cinematography, so you're literally just shooting a play on a soundstage.
Yeah, in some ways, but also it has the strength of being like literally a silent film, where most of the storytelling you do have to infer from what people are doing and how they're moving and those little moments. Whereas like if you take out all the sound of Twilight, you get Kristen Stewart making the same face for the whole movie and Robert Pattinson looking like he's constipated.
Sure, but we also discussed earlier in the podcast the fact that Nosferatu does a bad job of showing and not telling. They give a lot of exposition.
Do a bad job.
They both do, but
showing
we can't act like Nosferatu is adept at visual storytelling. They give you a lot of the story from those title cards.
But those title cards are also supposed to be dialogue a lot of the time, like half of the time at least.
Yeah.
Like it's just a different. They couldn't do that yet.
Sure.
And even still with the show don't tell thing or like versus tell don't show or whatever, Nosferatu is better than Twilight for me. Like Twilight doesn't let you figure out anything.
Yeah, the actors in Nosferatu at least are showing some kind of dynamic range with their physicality and like are attempting to tell a story through their facial movements and through their body, like their gestures and their reaches and how they're moving their bodies and stuff, especially Max Schreck.
It's bad.
Yeah.
To be clear, it's bad because it's old and they're bad, but it's better than what they were doing. Like, so I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where, to me, I'm leaning my point towards Nosferatu because there are moments in it that are like have stood the test of time with reason of like the silhouette shot, the him coming up, him tilting up, some of those shots of him lying in the coffin, of this truly captivating like image of this
those
being.
Mountains were really like there's mountains in Twilight and they're pretty, but like the Carpathian, whatever mountains they shot for Nosferatu were really cool.
And Twilight, you have people doing speedy piggybacks through the forest, and
so
like I'm saying Nosferatu.
All right.
I'm also Nosferatu.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man.
You guys can honestly sit there and say that Nosferatu looked better than Twilight.
Yes.
I mean,
I don't buy it.
It's
They're both not
I mean,
what I choose to look at.
It is what it is, but
They're not what I choose to look at.
I think you're letting your biases interfere with objective judgment here.
No, I'm letting the fact that I will remember Nosferatu much longer than I will remember Twilight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's impactful, not like modern professional standard of camera work and camera quality that I'm rating.
Yep. Sounds. One's a silent film.
And one is full of frustrating.
Should have been a silent film.
Dan?
He went first last time. I'll go first.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I'll go first. Sounds. It's tough because we didn't watch it with the organ soundtrack, which probably would have been way better.
You're kind of guessing if you go with Nosferatu, right?
Yeah. But like nothing really stands out from Twilight at all. I'm trying to think of sounds other than her whimpers and his like. And
I mean the notable soundtracks that you recognized.
Yeah, there's a lot of great music in
There were like
Twilight.
There were like two songs.
There's like two cool songs in Twilight. Everything stood out like a sore thumb. All the guitar stings when the baddies arrive, and like even I think like the Cullen theme is kind of like late 90s or like mid 90s grunge guitar.
They do have like a leitmotif.
It's like Fish. It's like listening to a Fish album. And it's detrimental to what they're trying to do. So it's bad sound in Twilight versus sound I'm not sure of in Nosferatu. I like organ a lot. I'm going with Nosferatu.
Okay.
Oh no.
Dan?
I'm not gonna lie. Part of me wants to go Twilight just because I feel like this movie is not getting a fair shake.
Right.
That being said, I think probably based on what we saw in the original version we skimmed through on YouTube, I can guess that the original score of Nosferatu would have been better. So I'm probably gonna have to go with Nosferatu as well.
Whoa.
No.
Honestly, I would probably still give it to Nosferatu, even based on what we listened to in our remastered version, because it was still like someone had to make a full orchestral score that had to not pull us out of the movie or like be, and do its thing for the entire, like it had to be simpatico with most of the movie.
There were many parts of that movie that I found to be thoroughly distracting.
Yeah.
I don't think they were successful at having a cohesive score for the film. I think that if we're going based on what we watched, it would be an easy Twilight point. But I think that if we have to go with the original orchestral score, which is what I think it would, if I have to guess what it would have sounded like based on what we watched, they would go Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Nosferatu. All
Nosferatu.
Right. Acting.
Okay, but acting though.
Yeah, this is a fucking hard one.
This is a hard one because it's some of the worst acting you'll see, but in both of them. Like I want, like you say, Max Schreck, who did Nosferatu, sort of did a thing, but honestly though, it's mainly just the prosthetics that he wore, if I'm being deadly honest.
It's his physicality too, but it's not enough to pull the entire cast out of it.
Whereas like at least in Twilight, I'm like, I buy that these people are like this creepy eternal clan of vampires. Like they achieve that, and they at least get their like awkward. Like, look, it's gonna be Twilight for this one, and I hate saying that because the acting is bad. It's I think mostly because the writing is the worst thing ever.
Atrocious,
But like I have to, because most of the acting also in Nosferatu is the craziest, shittiest shit you will ever like look at. It's bananas, and it doesn't matter what Nosferatu does to try and redeem it.
I agree. Twilight.
Yeah, that to me seems like a no-brainer.
It like has actors in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what Nosferatu has in it.
Yeah. Germans. Story. Ooh, another toughie.
They're not. None of them are easy. It's a much closer call.
Because Nosferatu is a third of a story.
Yeah.
And then an abrupt ending. And Twilight.
One that left a lot of questions.
Yeah.
It's like stuff.
There is a linear progression towards an ending in Nosferatu. There's almost that in Twilight, but there's a few moments where you have to just go like, okay, sure.
There's a linear progression towards an ending and then an abrupt ending with a lot left to be desired in between those two things.
Yeah.
In Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I think there's more of a maybe not entirely cohesive story in Twilight.
It's mostly a road movie with Nosferatu for,
Essentially, yeah.
And like weird characters doing like seeing what Knock is doing means nothing to us.
Yeah.
And we see some of their friends interacting with Ellen, and Ellen like doesn't really get to do anything. And it's so early that it seems like they didn't really know how to put together a narrative with film yet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, narratives just had to be simpler, I think, because their capabilities were limited.
Yeah. And I'll say even still, the writing is better in Nosferatu.
Yes.
The writing, like the literal lines and words that were put next to each other, which is title cards for Nosferatu, are better than anything anyone says in Twilight.
Yeah.
However, the story itself, at least I know what it is in Twilight. Mm-hmm. Which
the look of disdain and defeat on your face, Jack?
Yeah, because it's tough. It's
but
tough.
Twilight also doesn't explain a lot of shit and just leaves you to be like, yeah, vampires do that. So get over it. Just like
but what more explanation do you want?
Yeah, sometimes with this kind
an explanation.
For why vampires have shiny skin
or
or
who
have
they are,
superpowers?
why they're there. Maybe it comes in other films, but as we've said it before, like, no, we don't get to talk about the sequels. We're talking about this film. And it doesn't really explain anything.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things where, like, I'm being honest, like, I agree with you in some ways, and sometimes I don't. Like, sometimes it's like with Nosferatu, where they showed us him carrying his fucking coffin to his new house. And I'm like, don't show me that. So, because it's silly.
Then we wouldn't have seen it.
And I mean, it was glorious. But with Twilight, I can kind of, again, be like, it's okay. Like, as long as, like, she asked the question being like, why can you read minds? And he was just like, they can't, but I can. And it's like,
yeah,
all right, like you addressed it.
She tells the future, but only the future that she can see that people are choosing right now. If they choose a different path, then she sees a different future.
So they said what it is. And like sometimes, sometimes explaining it makes it more ridiculous. If I'm being fair, like, because I do criticize other movies for that, where it's like, you didn't have to tell us why, because now the why makes me more angry than just saying like, it's supernatural and shut up. Like that's as much as we're giving you.
So you're going Twilight? That made a good bump on the.
I hope so.
That was the sound of Jack's soul literally leaving his body.
I'm just worried because I think Twilight's somehow gonna fucking win this.
Hey.
And anyway,
you got to go with your gut.
It's yeah. I think I'm saying Twilight.
Daniel.
I think we know which way I'm going to go. I want to know which way you're going to go.
You loved Twilight.
I didn't love Twilight.
Daniel loves Twilight.
Sean, what do you
I see the merit in Twilight.
I honestly just could follow the story of Nosferatu better than I could follow the story of Twilight. I found it more linear. I found it easier to understand. I'm going Nosferatu.
Does linear and simpler make it better?
In these two films? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Okay. Well, I disagree. I'm going Twilight.
Okay. Well, we have a tie going into the last one.
I mean, that's interesting because I didn't understand much of what. And the thing is, like, I'm familiar with the Dracula story, and it was hard for me to follow what was going on.
Right.
Like I knew
it was pretty beat by beat.
Yeah, but like what, like how.
Till the end.
Yeah, I just don't know. Just how people ended up and where the places they were and what they were doing. Like, it doesn't really. And like, if you know Dracula, you can follow it. If you don't know Dracula, I think this movie looks like a fever dream.
Sure, they're both fever dreams.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But I think you could watch Twilight in a fever dream, and it would kind of cancel out, and you'd be like, they love each other. So
Twilight
It got the point. We don't have to.
Yeah,
we don't
like-
have to hold on it.
was that?
It got the point.
But kind of to your point, I find it interesting that you're saying that Nosferatu was simpler to follow when they literally spoon feed you all the information you need with Twilight.
Well, they literally spoon feed you all the information with cards in Nosferatu.
Yes and no. I mean, I had no idea what was happening with Knock or why that storyline was.
Yeah, he was being mind controlled and manipulated, and it was.
Sure, but
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah, they
understand
did-
that
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Enjoyability, the tiebreaker.
Yeah, the rewatchability, enjoyability.
Never have I
thing.
ever.
If you had to.
we should just call it Never Have
Never
I
have
Ever.
I ever
Makes no
watched this
sense.
film again.
Yeah.
All right, like if you knew you only had a few hours left in this world,
And there were only 2 movies left to watch, and one was
actually
Nosferatu.
phrasing it like that almost makes me change my opinion.
One was. Oh yeah.
As opposed to like you're just hanging out and you want to throw on a movie. Because on my deathbed, I'd probably would I? No, because I have to say Twilight. I have to say Twilight
Why?
because I also love to hate this movie.
This
I
is
have
so
to-
hard for you.
I have to acknowledge that I had a good time thinking this movie is garbage. And so if for one half of the population it's a fun romance movie and the other half it's something that you laugh at because it's ridiculous, then maybe you've achieved something really wonderful. I don't know. I'm still
Right.
a bit drunk, I think.
Yeah.
I'm begrudgingly saying Twilight, and now I know it's gonna win because it's Dan's favorite
Yeah.
movie. He
Daniel loves Twilight.
Daniel loves Twilight.
Well, before you ended, then I'll
Mambo
say
loves Mambo.
if it was. So my scenario is we're at a party and people are like, let's throw on a movie in the background. Ha 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 ha. We have Twilight or Nosferatu. I would fight to the death to stop Twilight from going on the film and Nosferatu going on the TV, and Nosferatu I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll be playing drinking games over in the corner. So Nosferatu.
You would
think-
fight
I
to the
think-
death to not have Twilight for what reason? If you're not paying attention either way.
Because I'd like my brain to not melt from my ears.
Fair. So
But I think it'd be funny to laugh at a party. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
like we were having drinks over it, and we were laughing at it, and
Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
So
I don't wanna do that again.
Here's
you
my.
don't kind of want to watch the next one and be like, "What the fuck?"
Well,
are
we're
they
gonna.
Oh, I'm for sure gonna watch the next one. So here's my counter scenario. Because if I'm looking at this as movies,
the loosest category ever.
We're really struggling here
but
with these films.
if I'm looking at it, I mean, fair. Like to
I
be fair,
almost fell asleep in Nosferatu. Like,
so did I.
yeah.
To be fair, I would never opt to watch either one of these movies
No.
again. No, they're both rough for
Yeah,
different reasons.
I've seen the classic. I don't need to see it ever again.
Thank you. However, we all have partners who happen to be women.
Yep.
The likelihood of me watching this or any of the other Twilight movies before I watch Nosferatu is pretty fucking high. I don't, outside of this specific circumstance, I will never want to watch Nosferatu again.
We commented that it's a good thing we watched it together this week because it's
Yeah,
like
watching it alone. Oof.
because like we shared in the experience. It was like an experiment to be like, let's watch this piece of early cinema just to see what it was. It's not good.
I think
It's
the
not
next
good.
I think the
but
next time
it's different than other movies. It's like looking at a fossil.
Yeah.
And being like, wow.
that's a good way to put it. It did make me want to go as Nosferatu for Halloween.
Oh.
I think the next time we watch a classic, as far back as silent movies, we got to go comedy because I think that that's probably the safest bet for us to actually get anything out of it. Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin,
That'd be
something
fun.
like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of which of these movies I'm likely to watch again, like actually likely to watch again, it's got to be Twilight.
Yeah, Aaron would firmly back me up by never wanting to have Twilight on in the household ever.
Fair, but I know for a fact the same cannot be said for Marisa
Yeah.
or Miranda.
Yeah, Miranda.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She digs it.
Yeah. Well,
I
the
told
rubes
Marisa we were
win
watching
again.
Twilight today, and she was pissed that it was one that I wasn't watching with her. So
Well, you can watch
We're gonna watch it again when you get home.
I might have to.
That seals it with 3 out of 5. It's close. This was close. This is like an old dirty rag versus like
A ShamWow.
a new shitty ShamWow, and it was fucking close. But the Citizen Kane of the Week
Wait for it.
Is the Citizen Kane of the Week is Twilight.
Yay.
How be gone, vile filth from my mouth.
I didn't think it was that bad. I actually had a decent time watching this
I
movie.
had a fine time hating it. Again,
there was some. Yeah, it was a
can
good
laugh.
bad movie.
Like, yeah, it really does like cross that threshold of being like so consistently ridiculous. Like, it never lets up in how stupid it is that it's actually pretty funny. Like, their conversations are like, what? Like, what are you saying to each other?
Well, I mean, I kind of look at a movie like this as the equivalent. It's like Shakespeare for teens. You know what I mean? It's you're using language and scenarios that doesn't necessarily replicate real life,
Right.
But
Sure.
it does stuff to capture the essence of the emotions that the audience is or wants to feel.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Manipulates things that people are susceptible to make money. I totally agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I mean,
That's the point,
Shakespeare.
right?
I mean, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your movies for next week there, buddy boy?
Okay, so I've been debating this for a while now, actually. So in an unprecedented move,
Ooh, unprecedented.
I am going to present a couple of options and leave it up to a vote
Oh, shit.
Okay.
because I don't know what to do
I'm
here.
gonna start losing some buttons.
Because I initially wanted to go. I mean, not initially. Initially, I had a different choice, but I really wanted to go with Evil Dead 2 versus Cabin in the Woods. But then I did so because Evil Dead 2 is one of the campiest movies I've ever seen in my life. But when I researched reviews and stuff, it is held in such a high regard. It
Yeah.
is such a classic that I can't really consider it to be schlock. So that's off the table. So now I have two different options here.
Okay.
The first option, which I just came up with a couple of days ago, is kind of keeping in line with our vampire theme, more specifically Dracula. So I was thinking of going with Bram Stoker's Dracula versus Dracula 2000.
Oh, baby.
Starring a young and very sexy Gerard Butler, who I know we love on this podcast.
Oh,
Man.
fuck. Okay. Yeah.
Or
Never seen
the connective tissue obviously being Gerard Butler.
Dracula.
Or I was thinking of doing more of like a holiday horror type theme and going with the original Halloween versus the 2015 version of Krampus, the Christmas horror movie starring Adam Scott.
Ooh. That's schlock?
Yeah, it has like a
Krampus.
54 on Metacritic, and it's like a comedy horror movie.
Halloween versus Krampus.
Like, I kind of want that one because I'm
Give it a vampire
I'm
fatigue.
done with vampires after today.
I mean, have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I watched it pretty
It's
recently.
it's an acid trip.
Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
might want to take acid before doing it, before watching it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But I didn't know because since we ended up going vampires today, I mean, had we not done today, I probably would have gone with Bram Stoker's. But I had the Halloween one in my back pocket.
I've never seen Halloween. I've never seen Krampus. I would prefer that one.
Jack?
Yeah, let's do Halloween Krampus.
Okay.
Boom.
Well, then Halloween, the original Halloween versus 2015's version of Krampus, which is not to be confused with the very odd and low budget indie version of Krampus, which I think you can still find on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which I think was made in like 2010 and shot on a Handycam. Don't watch or do watch that one. Just don't watch it as part of your homework for this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we give homework now. Great.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, we're still like
Yeah, this is a double day for us. It's hard.
yeah. We usually do these Thanos teasers as a sign off. What they are is just listen to previous podcasts. They're like a Thanos teaser like you'd see in MCU movies that tease the arrival of Thanos, but we imagine them after every movie that we see.
I remember when you got excited by these, Jack.
You know, I mean, it's been a long day. You guys got to my apartment.
Oh, your shirt's
12
completely undone. You're calling it soon.
open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They got here 12 hours ago. This is how much we apparently have time we have to commit to this podcast during a pandemic.
Oh.
I think my teaser is just that, not even like a post-credit teaser in Twilight is what I'm starting with. It's just that like in the credits when they show, like they immediately jump to like showing us black and white scenes from the movie, is that in those versions, like in those shots, you realize that Thanos is just like in the background of a lot of them and like more focal than you think he is. Like he's one of the students in high school, like laughing as she walks by. They're like, wait, was he always there? and that's it. He's just now in the scenes and he wasn't before. And like, and he's in the forest, like being like,
Yeah.
like,
But he's the one playing the piano when we go back to the weird, seductively lit shot of that room.
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm on board with that. That works for me. What do you
I
think?
love it.
Great.
I love that one. That's the one we choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
we're all
Unless
just
you've
like,
got one, Daniel.
I don't. I have no time to
Jack,
prepare
you
for
win
this.
that one.
Great. Yes.
I'm just going to copy that for my Nosferatu. I think Thanos is one of the villagers of Ysborg, but he is purple, and the rest of the film is in its original black and white. So he's just like sticking out like a sore thumb in every village scene. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that Nosferatu doesn't vanish as a result of being destroyed by the sun, but actually it's the result of an earlier snap from an earlier an earlier snap of Thanos. He's done his thing once before and cleared out.
Poof.
Maybe 25%.
Just in the neck of time.
Just all the vampires the first time around as like a dry run.
I hate vampires.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right.
And
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
We love you all.
Love you.
CitizenKaneVS@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube. The call to action. I hate call to action. That's such a shitty phrase.
I mean, you know what? If it's not so much a call to action as us encouraging you to participate in this process if you want to. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like to see us compare, leave them in the comment section on YouTube. Send us an email.
Smash that like and subscribe.
Fuck that bell.
The bam, bam, bam.
Bam, 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 bam.
If you prefer Instagram, we do have an Instagram page. It just has a lot of posters that can direct you to other ways to listen to our podcast. And that's about it. Send us your own Thanos teasers for any of the movies that you want to suggest, and we can read them out on the air. Participate. We encourage you to be active in the process, and we can read the stuff you send us.
And we love you.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoopy.
We need the Halloween version, dude.
Citizen Kane versus Spoopy edition.